If you love a good awkward silence, you're in for a treat. Check out this interaction between a suspect and detective. The suspect is the one in the cuffs, by the way.
So, if I could ask a Google search or something on like what's the best and worst case scenario for possession of a destructive device?
Yeah, I'm not really sure, man. I'm just here to transport you, so, I'm not...
Well, I mean, Google would know.
Yeah.
That, yeah, from the detective followed by the suspect's grunt of understanding is all you need to know. Who are these people, by the way? Let's start at the beginning, with George Floyd. The death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, Minnesota indirectly led to the establishment of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or CHOP, in Seattle, in which police were barred from entering. CHOP was a direct benefit to society as it produced the greatest socialist garden known to man. Yet it was also a direct detriment to society in its degeneration into violent criminal activity, including one case we've already covered. What most people don't know is that CHOP didn't even last a month. With multiple killings, among other crimes, in the weeks that followed in its establishment, CHOP was reclaimed by the city. But the political activists maintained their momentum for months after CHOP's closure. Our story brings us to 2 months after CHOP was disbanded. Anti-police protesters, who were demanding that government funding to the police be cut by half so that funding can be redistributed to black communities, had decided to take their protests to the Seattle Police Guild office. It's interesting to note that the Seattle Police Guild is unaffiliated with the city's police force and is a non-profit organization that receives no money from the government. With roughly 200 people joining the protest, the police were naturally deployed to maintain the peace. As you can imagine, multiple protesters were arrested for various reasons. One such person, the subject of our current video, was arrested for being in possession of a 12-pack of Corona. This was a special 12-pack of Corona, I might add, as each bottle was stuffed with a banana. Did I actually write banana in my notes? Each bottle was stuffed with a bandana. And the liquid content of these bottles was not delicious beer, but gasoline. In other words, today's interrogation video is about a protester who decided to bring a 12-pack of Molotov cocktails to an anti-police protest. Going into this interrogation, it is important for you to know that each bottle was individually tested to find gasoline inside, which means that with the burnable bandana stuffed in every bottle as a makeshift wick, every bottle did indeed constitute a de facto Molotov cocktail. But what do I know? Let's hear the suspect, Justin Moore, out before we draw any conclusions.
Oh, stop. Right here? Yeah, we're going to sit on the table over here. See? Some more, would you like a water or anything? Please. Okay, yeah. We're going to grab you one. Just so you know.
I don't know if you can see it, but I'm kind of scraped up on my elbow.
Okay, do we
If I could get like an alcohol swab or something.
take a look at it? Yeah, sure. Let's see.
It's just an abrasion. I'll be all right.
Okay.
Yeah, so when he gets back, we've got some paperwork that we'll go over with you.
Yeah, look, you've got a little bruise. Fine, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some water.
Great. I'm gonna have somebody run and grab you something to clean that up.
Okay.
Can you get it okay with your hand?
And
I should be all right.
sure.
Could you get the mask?
Oh yeah. And right with you.
Oops. Sorry. Can you get the water okay? Because we can adjust your cuffs.
I am seriously just overwhelmed.
I can understand that.
Gonna make it see a little more.
Yeah, Mr. Moore, what
A
we're
little
going
more
to
space to move.
we're going to actually loosen that up for you.
Sorry. Look at you.
Well, You can stand up on there real quick. Face me. Maybe use this one. Put your.
So do you have my radial nerve is severed, sir.
I don't want you to do anything with that hand. So there you go. Perfect. That child's with your other hand. Take your wrist back. Go. Same draw. Tighten it up there.
I don't know, I gotta.
You're holding your hand there.
Oh, you need it.
Yeah, there you go.
Is it?
Is that better?
Is that any better?
Slip that up.
Yeah.
After Alexis should still be listening, if not, let me know. I think that's
I don't think I should have.
Yep.
I mean, like, this is pretty life ruining, so it's kind of hard for me to determine anything. But
Yeah, we'll sit down and talk about this, man. I mean, we got a lot kind of going on.
You want some more water?
I'm good.
You good? Okay. You want your mask back on?
No.
Okay. I've been vaccinated, so.
Okay. So I'm going to close this.
At this point, breathing heavily on me might be better.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm just,
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's go and talk about this.
Yeah, why don't we talk?
So, like I kind of talked about a few things in the car. I just want to start off by letting you know that we're in the Seattle Police Department. We're in an official holding cell, so
Yeah,
we
I
are
know.
being audio and video recorded, just like you've seen that before with all this stuff. We'll go ahead and go over the advisement of rights. As you know, you've seen that before. I mean, we have to do that as a matter of policy and procedure to ensure your rights. So we'll just go over all these just so you know. Like I said, it'd be great if you just kind of listen to what we have to say, and then we can have some dialogue about it. Okay?
all right.
So,
If I could,
go ahead.
any avenue possible for release today, I'd be happy
It's-
for, like,
So let me be forthright with you on that, right?
okay.
I can't make any promises because it's not my decision to make, but we will be meeting with the people at the courts and stuff like that today. Okay, so I can't promise you that can happen, but what I can tell you is it has been my experience that being forthright, cooperative, this, that, and the other thing is favorable in the eyes of the prosecutors and the courts, in as far as those kinds of things. And so
We just can't guarantee.
we just can't guarantee. We can't make guarantees. We just can't. We're not allowed. So that's just the only thing I wanted to tell you. And identify. Like I'm going to go.
I'm just
Go ahead.
I'm just announcing right now that I'm not a flight risk. If you want to press charges, that's fine. I just want a chance to marry the girl so I can maybe power through the sentence.
Yep.
Or whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
And look, we're not unreasonable ogres. So I understand where you're coming from, and I understand this is very stressful.
Yeah.
Why don't we'll work through this, and then we'll talk about this.
Okay.
Does that sound good? Just so we can get that procedure
I
done.
also, just in the spirit of cooperation, want to lay out some ground rules. If you ask a question that I don't want to answer, I'll
We can
just
get
respond
the-
with lawyer.
Okay.
And then we can just move on to the next question. That doesn't mean that I'm gonna clam down.
So let me go over this first, and we'll just work from there.
We'll talk about that. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So before we ask you any questions, you must understand your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can't be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before we ask you any questions. You have the right to have a lawyer with you during the questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before any questioning if you wish. If you decide to answer questions now without a lawyer present, you have the right to stop answering anytime. Pretty basic. And then here it's going to say, I have read this statement of my rights and I understand what my rights are at this time. I'm willing to answer questions without a lawyer present. And let me
we'll
let you
continue to
sign
talk
this
about that.
here. You have something you can write on?
Can you get your hands up there, Mr. Moore, or no?
Consent for it.
Right here.
This is just to talk to us.
Yeah,
that you've been told of your rights.
This is just your advice of rights that I just read to you. Okay. Good enough. Thanks.
So let me kind of explain what you were talking about, right? So again, to introduce myself, as I told you in the car, but I'm just going to say it again. My name is Rick Hall. I work for the Seattle Police Department and also for the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force. Okay, I have two roles. So it's not uncommon. You'll see it everywhere in all sorts of parts of federal government. They have local liaisons and local people that work with them because they bring the local.
Yeah, but you just said the word.
Right,
That's what gets me shot in an alley somewhere.
It's not what gets you shot in an alley. It is not.
I love the detective's response here. It's just so matter of fact. I think Justin doesn't understand that such phrases have meanings. All you have to do here is literally think. People who get shot in alleys are either in dangerous neighborhoods doing shady things like drug deals with armed criminals, or are Batman's parents. Literally, no one gets identified as a terrorist and then shot in an alley. How would that even work? Hey, I heard that Justin was sentenced for domestic terrorism. Let's get him into an alley and shoot him. Okay, I'll invite him to an alley. He said he doesn't want to go to an alley. Alright, we're going to have to rethink our plans here. And yeah, I know, Justin was really just saying that he'd get spontaneously killed for being tied to terrorism, but come on, right after 9/11 that wasn't a thing. What a drama queen. You're going to be hearing a lot of idiocy from Justin. The detectives are good at shutting him down, though.
So I'm Agent Steve Houghton. I work with Rick. We work, like you said, for the Domestic Terrorism Squad. And I'll let him go ahead and explain what we're interested in.
So I'm going to ask you some questions. Here's the thing with this, right? I'm going to ask you questions. You get to choose if you answer my questions. Okay? Your cooperation is appreciated. It's noted. It's good. If there's something you don't want to answer, then you just don't answer it, right? Because if you invoke the right to a lawyer, which is your constitutional right, and I am not saying you shouldn't or you should. I'm not saying either of those. But what I am telling you is once you invoke and once you say, I want an attorney, then all of our discussions are over. We can't go on any further. Even if you say 5 minutes later, you know what, I changed my mind. I actually do want to talk to you. We can't. So what we can do is go through these questions. And if there's certain questions you don't want to answer at that time, you say, you know what, I'd rather not answer that. Let's just go on and go with some other stuff.
Yeah, like you said, if you say lawyer, we just have to stop questioning.
Stop everything, yeah.
And until you get booked and everything at the Marshal Service, that's the time that you'll get an attorney assigned. So it would be, a while down the road before we talk to you with your attorney.
Okay.
So I just kind of wanted to lay kind of the foundation of about you, and then kind of go into what I told you. Remember, I told you in the car what you were being arrested for was the investigation regarding the possession of the Molotov cocktails during the Labor Day March in September of 2020. Okay. But what I'd really kind of like to understand a little bit more is a little bit about you. So you're not from Washington State, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Were you born in California?
No.
Oh, where were you born?
Texas.
Texas, okay. And did you complete high school?
GD.
Okay. Did you go on for any further education, like trade school or anything else after that?
A little bit of college, but honestly, my mental health wasn't good enough to be a good student.
Oh, okay. And then, so you were up at the VA. You were in the military. What branch were you in the military?
Army first, then Marine Corps.
Okay. And did you do a full tour of full commitment in for the Marine Corps?
I did my 4 years.
Your contracted amount. Okay. And did you deploy overseas or anything, or
Negative.
no? Okay. And what was your job in the
Infantry.
It was infantry. Did you have a specific thing where you, like a specific duty that you did in the infantry for them? Like, were you a supply clerk, or were you somebody who was in machinist or mechanic or things like
Rifleman.
that? Or rifleman, okay. So you did your... go ahead.
I never deployed, so they wound me up making me do half a dozen things that weren't my job. But
okay.
That's just the name of the game.
I got you.
Typical military.
Yeah. So your military service was here.
It's hot in here.
I can open the door.
Yeah, that's fine. So you were.
You want some more water?
Yeah. So was your military service? It was all here in the United States. Was it in one place?
No, it was in Fort Benning, and then Camp Pendleton.
Okay. Then you did your 4 years in the military, and then what time, or not what time? When did you get out?
2012.
Oh, okay. So you'd been out for a while. Prior to moving up here, what kind of jobs did you do?
Odd ones here and there.
Just kind of whatever paid the bills, so to speak.
Mainly not paying bills, but
Yeah.
Kind of frustrating.
You ever think about getting back into the military, or you'd had enough?
When I first signed up for the military, this is very weird to talk about. I didn't.
You don't need to talk about the military if you want. I was just trying to kind of get an idea of Mr. Moore, the person.
Yeah, I don't.
But if that was not a comfortable time for you, then yeah,
that's fine.
No. I don't want to put up any resistances. I don't. You trying to analyze me as a person and possibly as a threat, and I want you to look as far in my brain as you can, realize that I'm fucking not.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I love my country. I love people in general. I'm not violent.
Yeah, and so I was trying to understand, kind of like, and that's why I was asking, what you did in the military and some of your jobs, trying to understand how we got to Justin Moore of Labor Day 2020. It seems like I was trying to understand the shift of where you were.
That was more or less manipulation.
Oh, okay.
The Molotovs, as you could see, were not functional. They didn't have a corking mechanism at all. Like, they were just there to look pretty, attract a smell, and get me a reputation so that people that were starting trouble, people that were throwing rocks would come to me and I could more easily identify them.
Oh, okay.
So is it?
And at
So
the
you're
same
saying?
time,
So you're saying the ones that you were carrying were a prop?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
You can tell from the evidence that you gathered that they were not functional. I never intended to make a functional weapon.
Okay.
How did you, I guess, it kind of backing up, so I was under the impression that you were there in support of kind of like the anti-capitalist, social justice type direct action people. Okay.
Not really. I was trying to identify them so that we could like remove them from the crowds.
Okay.
But a lot of the heavy hitters, like, they kind of sniffed what I was up to. And like,
so when you say we, like, who?
Just generally most people.
Okay.
Like, there wasn't a command structure. It was just all chaos.
Yeah.
And when I made the decision to come here, it was because this part of this location of my country was hurting, and I'm not incompetent. So I just decided to get involved and try to do what I could for good.
Okay.
And I'm not an anti-capitalist.
Okay.
there's some things I think capitalism shouldn't touch, like medicine and education. However, the fashion industry, like, that's a non-essential industry. Like, capitalize that shit. Movies, entertainment, we don't need it. Capitalize it.
I see what you're saying. I see.
You know, but I'm not a politician, and I never really wanted to get involved in politics. I just.
So when you say you came up to Washington, and did you just like?
Let me back up here.
All right.
Sorry. When I was in.
Here, Justin is talking about what got him discharged from the military. I have redacted this for reasons I will explain in a minute.
So that happened. And I reported it the next day. And they discharged me. And I felt robbed. Because I'm brave. I'm smart. I'm a good man.
When I first heard Justin tell the story of how he was discharged from the military, I thought he was probably covering up his real reason for being discharged. Some people, especially those who have cluster B personality disorders, turn every setback in life into an opportunity to either inflate their self-image, such as by stating that they were rejected for being overqualified and the like, or gain sympathy with a victimhood story. I really thought Justin was trying to do the latter. However, upon asking my friend who was in the military, I learned that traumatic events can result in a discharge. I really don't know whether Justin is lying in this case, so just under the assumption that he is telling the truth, I have redacted the details of his story.
And I wanted to help my country where it was hurting then, which was a pointless war. Like, no one was benefiting.
Are you talking about what was happening here in the United States? Or?
No. This was during my enlistment in the Army.
I see.
So you're
In
saying like the
2005.
foreign wars.
The foreign wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's where Americans were dying, and I thought it would be honorable if it were me doing the risking than anyone else. That's where my heart's always been. And then they discharged me from the Army, and I felt like I was robbed of a chance to like be honorable and like do good. And I couldn't take that, so I joined the Marine Corps instead. And I did my 4 years there, but because of what happened to me in the Army, I started developing PTSD symptoms. And then that resulted in me ultimately becoming liability, just because of inconsistent behavior, inconsistent sleep, outbursts, just not talking about it. This is the most I've talked about it in a long time. I've talked about it with counselors directly in connection with my benefits, but I don't talk about that shit. I lie. Yeah. I lie my dick off. I lie my dick off to just avoid talking about that. I don't like.
No, I can understand that. I can. And
then I saw my country splitting and almost going into civil war.
You're talking about what was happening here.
2020.
Yeah.
During the civil unrest.
Yeah.
And like, I know why people are angry. Like, I'm not a fan of cops. Mm-hmm. Like, I think the prison system's more or less just kind of useless. It's not really helping anybody. Mm-hmm. No offense to y'all, but
I'm taken.
If it took people and, like, you know, trained them to have a job when they leave.
Yeah.
If we stopped all this probation, parole, felon, second-class citizen bullshit, like, I think that it would be a lot brighter for you. You know, just reputation and hearts and minds, such. But so many people have, like, developed a drug problem, which is, honestly, drug problems shouldn't even be your problem to deal with. That should be more or less like, you know, this person's trying to kill themselves, get them in a mental hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But regardless of me agreeing with some police or not, or general politics, like, I don't believe anyone's evil for trying to protect their local community.
Yeah.
So, but you weren't from here. You just decided to come up to Seattle. Seattle was the...
It was where the media blew it all up, saying, like, just declared a new Capitol Hill in Seattle, and it wasn't clarified on any of the media stations that Capitol Hill is just an area of downtown Seattle.
So you were thinking it's like the whole thing,
Like,
or...
It was like a civil war's happening or something.
Like, it's not even like, it wasn't like that. It was like a civil war is trying to start, and, like, these disorganized, untrained people are just going to be mopped the floor with. So try to go and help as many people as I can in a medical facet, because I had first aid training from the infantry and such.
Okay.
Came out with a bunch of medical gear.
So you were in California at that time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you were in California and you came up, and the area known as Chop was already in full swing at that point by the time you came up? Did you...
I came up and I arrived in Seattle 7 hours before it fell down.
Oh,
Okay. And did you know anybody, or did you just...
No.
Really?
Oh, wow.
So
I love my country. I don't want my people to be hurt. I don't want your people to be hurt. I don't want anyone to be hurt here.
Okay.
We have such bigger problems.
So you came up here, you didn't know anybody, you just started chatting with people, I guess, because it seems to me like if Chaz and Chop is shutting down, that was a unique environment where it'd be more easy to interact with people and talk to
Paramedics
people.
were also not allowed in, so...
Into the area?
Yeah, so, like, me showing up with the medical gear and just, like, trying to dress like 3 or 4 junkies. There was, like, right when I showed up, there was this guy. He was cutting into his own face with a razor blade because he had, like, meth.
So he wants the police to believe that he made these Molotov cocktails at home and brought them to the protest only to dispose of them so that no one could use them? There is no disputing that he created the Molotov cocktails, by the way. The FBI found materials for creating Molotov cocktails in his house. They also found a handwritten notebook with Justin's handwriting detailing the creation process. Now he's telling the detectives that he did all that to ensure Molotov cocktails were not used. And I believe him. Truly. My theory is that Justin wants to be seen as a big, important guy. It's all about image for this guy. So he made the Molotovs, brought them to the protest so that he could be that guy. Hey, that's the guy who brought the Molotov cocktails. He must be really serious about the social issues we are protesting for. I really look up to him. Yet he also wants to show that he's got restraint. So, hey, I brought these cocktails, but let's not use them unless it's really necessary. We're here at this protest to make a difference, but we aren't beyond using violence to move society forward. This guy's just a poser. He's a nobody poser who saw a potential for getting some social status by pouring some gasoline into a bottle and sticking a ripped bandana inside.
Did they have a fuel component in them?
Mm-hmm. It was just regular gas or whatever.
Okay. No mix.
No.
Okay. Sometimes you see that. Sometimes when people make Molotov cocktails, they add
I never bothered to
the fuel.
I never really bothered to Google it. I just knew how to make one that wasn't one.
Okay.
That way, if this ever happened, I could explain what the fuck I'm doing.
Okay.
So your design was the Corona bottles, gasoline in the Corona bottles with the rags stuffed up. Where'd the rags come from?
Just bandanas. It's
Oh.
Corona.
Okay.
I mean, like the virus, like it's
Yeah.
just
So I mean,
bandanas are everywhere.
I mean, did you have to buy them or?
Yeah.
Gas station.
Yeah.
Was it the same gas station you got the gas at? Or?
I think the gas was just left over from a lawnmower.
Oh.
Oh, so you didn't have to buy gas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so you arrived there that date. Did you, because you weren't living where you are now when you had those?
No,
When you
I was homeless.
Did you take them on a bus? Did you drive yourself down? Did you?
No, I just took them from my tent. But
So you were living up. Where were you living in a tent?
so I could show you on a map maybe.
Okay.
But it was a park nearby.
In Seattle?
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
After I got down to it was kind of rough for a minute.
Mhm.
Couch surfing and the like.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing from you is that was all you. The whole thing was all you, right? You bought the beer, you got the gas, you got the wicks. There's nobody else that was involved. Really? Okay.
I mean, you'd mentioned that you were kind of trying to stop the violence and stuff.
Mm. I was trying to get the attention of heavy hitters so that they would come to me, but most of the people that were like seemed halfway organized,
Yeah.
they sniffed me out pretty quick.
Where did your idea come from to do it that way?
Honestly, the frustration of not being able to get in with the heavy hitters to begin with, because like I don't want people in danger, and I don't want people fighting. I don't want people fighting a civil war. Period.
Mhm.
Like, would a change in government be nice? Yeah, but like, dude, we don't have to do that by the sword. This is 2021. Like, they're like Iceland just did it. I'm pretty sure non-violently.
Mhm.
You know, like, if that's what people want, like, go ahead. I kind of don't want that because then all my money that I get every month goes away. Just saying. Like, but I'm kind of socially awkward, and when I tried to get in with any kind of crowd and deliberately, like, it seemed hella suspect.
Right.
And I kind of like reek of Marine, so people are like, cop, like on me all the time, and
So
that
you're
was
trying to
frustrating.
build a reputation by carrying the 12-pack.
Right, so that I could more readily identify problem people before the protest starts and get them out of there.
Did you encounter any problem people leading up to that, like that would have been attracted to that?
Clarify.
Like anybody that would have been like maybe willing to help out with something like that, you know, like some direct action involving like, you know, a big cache of Molotovs like that, like maybe somebody had an idea about it and would have been attracted if they saw you with the 12-pack, or maybe knew that like if you
Actually, that it almost got the attention of this one group that was like posting up security around the protests, but really shittily.
uh-huh.
And I got to know that group, and they gave me a little patch thing, but they told me not to wear it.
Okay.
And I think they were like thinking about recruiting me, but they told me not to wear it because like it was like you're not one of us, but we're thinking about it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right. So
And then I found out they're all doing ketamine, and I just lost interest, but I kind of held on to it because it was like a good job
Yeah.
sticker.
So you thought you were in the right direction, moving in the right direction.
They more or less turned out to be kind of sweet, like, and most of them had ideas similar to mine, which was like calm shit down.
Okay.
But after they stopped associating with me, was after inauguration day, and I willingly like spoke to police then, and that turned everyone off from me immediately. And I hung up my hat at that point.
Okay.
After that.
Yeah.
Did you happen to get any of their street names or anything that they were going by?
No,
Like
but
some of the bad apples, I guess.
It was a organization, if you want to call it that, but they were trying to like the leader. I don't know his name. He never really gave it to me. He didn't really like me much, but when I heard him talk, he was always trying to whisper to people and shit like that. Kind of a weird guy, but he had this little group that he called the Valkyries, and apparently, like, I got to talking to him eventually, and then I was like, this kid's just an airsofter.
Okay.
Like, he's just an airsofter / raver. Like, these are just children that party too much.
Yeah.
And I was like,
So he's
But I found out later that, well, I didn't find out, but it was rumored later that one of their former members was involved in a shooting of some kind. And like after that, I was definitely doubling down on like not talking to any of those motherfuckers.
Yeah. So that kind of going back to your thing, you said you came from your tent that morning with the Molotovs, and then joined in the group, and then after you were down by the spog, and then you left,
Mm-hmm.
and then did you go back to your tent? What did you do after that? I mean,
I think I went and we went and we D-blocked at a park or something like that.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
That's consistent with what a lot of people did. Judkins Park. A lot of people marched a long way, and that's kind of where everybody ended up. So
yeah. Then I got a ride from a friend, and I don't really remember the rest of the day.
Okay. What was his name?
I'd rather not say.
Okay.
Like, I don't want to get people dragged into things. And
so was he part of your thing? Did he?
No, he's a nerd, fucking harmless. Like,
so he wasn't part of your whole prop plan that day?
He may have known about it because the idea was to brag.
Okay.
So.
But he's just a nerd. He's not he's not an active in the scene, so type of guy, I guess.
No. He's kind of an angel, but he's an angry angel. But he's not.
Did he help you make him?
Threaten? No, nothing like that.
Nothing like that.
You said he's an angel. Does he help in other ways?
He helps everyone he can.
Okay. Like financially or emotionally or?
Every way he can.
Oh, okay. I mean, it seems like he would be concerned about, kind of have the same concerns that you had, with, people
calming
doing
people
bad
down.
Things. Yeah, so I could see where he might be wanted to help you with something like that.
No, this kind of thing. Nah, but the Valkyrie group, I don't know if like you're investigating me because of them, but
well, remember I told you it was like we were talking about that.
Not doing it alone. Yeah. The people I did know at the protest, when I showed up with those, almost everybody instantly started hating on me.
Really?
Because everybody that I knew and was associating with at the time, I was trying to calm everything down, and then all of a sudden changing script. Why?
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I had a strategy, but
Did you march with any of them? Like on the way in or out? Like, you know?
I mean, like, sure, like, it's a big ass crowd.
No, I meant the people who specifically were.
Who knew me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, they were there.
Hmm.
Like some people, but
Like, yeah. I mean, it was a big group, it was a big
Yeah.
crowd.
yeah.
Imagine you probably, you knew them because they were participated with other stuff too.
Mm.
Did you know, had any of them ever done anything before like that, or
Like, what?
like with Molotovs or anything?
No, man. Like, the whole point of my function here was to get people like that out of the crowd so that we could calm shit down. Because, like, let's face it, like, even in the height of the protests, like, what was the, damn, my history. What was the,
The WTO riots.
no, the riot with the British that set off the war.
The Tea Party? Boston Tea Party?
Yeah.
Tea Party, okay.
Even if like they wanted to like Boston Tea Party that situation, like the protesters from the jump to the end were hilariously outgunned. And frankly, even if they weren't, they're very disorganized and kind of uneducated, and I don't want them in charge. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of good ways to get involved in politics. That's just, I just wanted to affect my direct area around me, calm people down, try to handle threats before they happen, and that was my entire motive.
After the event, you ended up at Judkins Park, and then you got a ride from there.
Mm-hmm.
And then did you go anywhere else?
Not of any importance.
No. You talked to anybody else? Talk about what you did that day? Talk about the Molotovs? Talk about any of that kind of stuff?
Well, I mean, like, people who knew me saw me
Mm-hmm.
and carrying it and smelled, and then started talking. So I didn't really have to do much talking.
Okay.
But after that day, whenever I tried to join a protest again, they were very resentful.
No, on
So
that,
I then outed myself, basically.
When you say they,
Just the general crowd.
Okay.
Like, nobody really used their real names.
I mean, it would like throw out some street names of somebody that might have cared about that or been resistant.
Oh, Bubbles. I'm remembering a lot of faces, but when someone doesn't give you your real name, you don't really bother remembering it. But I know Mario Reitz was there.
Mario.
The guy who stabbed me 6 times.
Okay, he's a protester.
He was.
He was.
He was a self-proclaimed leader of the CHOP.
Huh.
I took him in as a roommate, trying to calm him down.
Mm-hmm.
And it,
So
more or less,
you were living at a place, and then you invited him to live with you?
Mm,
Oh, okay.
eventually, but yeah.
Was that the? I know you had a previous address in Renton,
Mhm.
and then Lake Elsinore, I think, was
Mhm.
their address. So did you know him? You know him from California, or did you know him from here?
Here.
Oh, okay. And you were living in the Renton house, and then he moved in with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you guys share a room, or?
I was renting a house for a short time, but
Oh, okay. So you were the person on the lease.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else? So it was just you and him?
Mm.
That was just 2 people in the house?
Well, there's a third roommate at the point of the stabbing, but
Oh, okay.
and he was a protester too, but he was more or less just, I don't know what the fuck his deal was. I think he had a drug problem, to be honest. He was always in the bathroom. He had the sniffles.
Yeah.
So I just kind of was like collecting his portion of the rent and trying my best to ignore him.
Yeah.
All right.
But Mario Reitz was also resistant to the idea of me rejoining the crowds. And after he got outed for being generally douchey, we kind of became friends again. And then I told him it wasn't working out.
Him living there, or
Yeah.
Oh.
And then he shanked me.
That must have been terrible.
Is that what caused the injury on your
Yeah.
arm? Okay.
He got me in the lung too.
Did you really?
Hmm.
Wow. All right. So you come up here. You're at the end of Chaz Chop. You were doing out some of the protest things. You got to know people. On the day that you were at the Labor Day March, you were. I know you said the people were blocking. You weren't in a typical block attire. I mean, you were in a blue sweatshirt, and you know, typical black block attire tends to be all one color, black, and, top to bottom, things like that. You were in quite a different outfit that day.
Yeah. A lot of the customs of the crowd kind of didn't register with me because I'm just different. Like, I've been trained, and I think more like a military man than I do a criminal.
So were you not trying to be associated with them at that point, so to speak, not look like them, or were you just not trying not to be noticed?
I was just trying to have extra layers that I could discard later and be in a new outfit.
Okay.
But
So you didn't wear the black block that day.
I was also homeless at the time, so like resources were a little thin.
Oh wow.
But
You weren't living at the house in.
not at the time
Right.
of the Labor Day March, no.
Oh. Had you been living there before and then you weren't living there at that point, or were you?
No.
Had you not signed the lease? I don't know when you signed a lease or did any of that. So was that before?
I believe you guys talked to my landlady already.
Because that would be September,
But-
right? But I don't know when you would have signed a lease on that. It was like, does he live here, kind of thing. So
I think it was December that I signed the lease.
of 2019,
2020.
2020,
Yeah, I didn't arrive here in 2019.
right? But the Labor Day thing was on. Oh, so I see what you're saying. So that was like months because it was September when the Labor Day March happened. So September, October, November, and then you finally moved into the house in December. And then after you moved into that house, then Reitz moved in.
Right.
Okay, I got you. Just trying to get that timeline. And then the guy that picked you up in the car, and he was the nerdy type. Does he live in Seattle?
I'm not gonna,
Not going to go into him. Okay.
like, honestly, if you showed me photos
Mm-hmm.
of people who you thought were a threat,
Mm-hmm.
right, and like wanted to like share information about them with me, like I'd be willing to like go and talk to the threats and help you out. Like, I don't mind diffusing threats.
Okay.
I just don't.
This guy has watched way too many movies. What an inflated ego. He wants to go from a nobody to an undercover counterterrorism police with no training. Not to mention, he's now a criminal. Everything about this guy just screams a desire to be useful, but only in a special way. He can't just take a normal job and provide contributions to working society. He needs to be special. He needs to be a top secret undercover agent. Or the guy who brought 12 active Molotov cocktails to a protest. He wants to be recognized. Well, I hope I'm giving him what he wants. And unlike that sorority girl, I'm not going to take this video down if his dad sends me an email requesting that I do so. Yeah, that's what happened. That's why you can't see the sorority girl's video anymore. Her dad of all people emailed me and asked me to take it down, and I did. And by the way, just to make this clear and on the record, there weren't any threats of legal action or any exchanges of money. He just said his daughter was having a hard time at work after I put that video up. So he asked me to take it down, and I said okay.
I don't want to spend years of my life in prison for trying to help.
I see.
Yeah, I think so. There's two pieces to that. You know, like Rick said, you know, we can't make any guarantees, but we know from experience, if somebody, you know, accepts responsibility for something that they did, they can get credit for that, is one way. And then the other way they can get credit to kind of alleviate that is if they, you know, tell on everybody else, so to speak, you know, so they talk about what other people were doing. And usually what happens, I can tell you in my experience, most of the time, the vast majority of the people will just go that route. And usually what happens is it gets resolved outside of court. Everything gets resolved outside of court, and nobody ever knows that ever happened typically. Now, obviously, if somebody decided, you know, to go to trial or something like that, then that type of information comes out. So it's one of those things where it's kind of understood everybody's just going to help themselves at this point, you know. And so like Rick had mentioned to you, know,
that's not true. All right, look, I'm not anyone's enemy. However, I understand the necessity for violent threats to be handled. And I assume that's why we're here, like you're analyzing me for such a threat. I absolutely do not mind helping. Like, this isn't just about me. Like, I'm a tool that can be used to help others. And if we're willing to go that route, I'd be more than happy to do so. I love my country.
I guess what I'm wondering is if you were a tool used by others, if you had been used and manipulated to do something by others, like if this group had come up with a plan and then they say, you know what, I know a guy who we can get to carry those. I know a guy who we can get to do this.
No, it's the reverse. That's what got their attention. But then the inauguration day thing happened, and they basically just looked at me as a snitch, and I thought it was safer for me not to contact them anymore.
Right. Well, I mean, after that event down in the Starbucks, you kind of went off the radar, so to speak, right? You didn't do anything anymore, right?
Well, yeah, at that point, you know, lawman sits me down and says, hey, you're in fucking trouble. I'm like, okay. And then my woman's like, dude, what the fuck? And I'm like, all right, fair. And if I were to live my life the way I want to, farmhand, rest of my life, I just want to go home to my woman. We've been talking about kids. And she doesn't want me involved in anything, even remotely dangerous. Like, let alone anything that's going to be against people who can take me away from her, aka you. You know, or any law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just, and I'm with that. I'm not going to commit any crimes. I wasn't gonna commit any more crimes regardless of today's events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot for you to shoulder something that may not be just yours to shoulder, right? If there's other people that were responsible for activities that day, and I guess it's just a lot for you to, looking at your stuff and with your girlfriend and telling me what kind of person she was, that she's probably all about personal responsibility, taking responsibility for your own actions. But the reality is too that doesn't mean you are responsible for everybody else's actions. There's consequences for other people's own actions that you don't have to shoulder yourself, right? And I will tell you that, that
I'm not sure what you're getting at here.
I guess my point being is that we're looking at that this was not a singular one person incident, that you were a lone wolf actor, so to speak, right? That using that kind of terminology, it kind of defines it's a single person making a single decision, doing things by themselves. Yeah. There's plenty of information and stuff that suggests quite heavily that that's not the case, that you were not a person that acted alone. And that's one of the things that we're trying to get to is, the other people that were acting along in concert with you. You shouldered the responsibility. I mean, you took it upon yourself or were guided to, or whatever it was, to carry those, that Corona box of Molotov cocktails that day. But that doesn't mean you came up with the plan. That doesn't mean you came up with, the idea. And it just means that you were the guy that walked it down the street. And so that's one of the things that we're trying to get to is establishing what your role was that day. And it's kind of sitting, it's one of those things. I'm just having a hard time with somebody who's been, who's obviously served his country and done so many things that you would have maybe come up with this. It just doesn't seem to make sense. And so that's where I'm trying to really kind of understand.
I should be insulted.
No, I'm not insulting your intelligence. I'm just saying
the information we have. I mean, we've got video, we've got records. Law enforcement search your room.
Electronic devices,
other people's electronics devices. I mean, it's been a while. We're talking about a while ago.
Yeah.
So that can kind of give you an indication of the amount of information that we're looking at.
You're not the only person that we've looked at.
But in some of your stories, just not adding up. And you can understand where we're coming from.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're trying to be upfront with us, and we obviously want you to be upfront with us because
I'm trying to be upfront with you and also not incriminate people who really aren't a threat. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to tell you the partial truth. I've decided that I'm the final decision maker regarding the information I provide to you as a super secret undercover threat diffuser. Perhaps one day you will obtain the security clearance level that I have defined in my mental world concerning my make-believe job, but that day is not today. Wow, is this guy confident? He believes he's already gotten the job.
Right, and because I guess what we can kind of look at is, are they a current threat? So there's the
current or past.
Right. Well, if somebody decided to do something in the past that had the possibility of endangering others, there's still, it doesn't just go away. We don't just get to go, oh well, because that they weren't caught on that day, right? There's still responsibility for actions, even for people who've done that in the past. And let's say that you have even moved on. I'll compare it to something completely different. Let's say somebody stole $1 million, 5 years ago, but then hasn't done anything illegal since, and in fact has become a pillar of society. That doesn't mean they still shouldn't be held accountable for that theft of, all that money those years ago, even though they've completely changed. That doesn't alleviate that. It still needs to be addressed, and it's up to the courts and everybody else to look at that and go, okay, we see that was done, but here's the mitigating things of what's happened since then, or how that person has changed, or all those types of things. But quite frankly, that's not our decision to make. That's for us to collect and then present, and then the courts make that decision. So that's kind of where we're going on this. And like I said before, we can't make any promises about anything. But as Steve said,
right.
When the courts look at this, they look at cooperation and things like that favorably, because it's one of those things of it's not just being forthright. It's also taking some responsibility and accepting some things and admitting to some things, and
we already know you didn't mastermind this, and so
that's okay. Look,
and it's not to.
I know that you're trying to check all your boxes here. All right, I get it. If you have information on individuals that you're investigating, and you want additional information from me, that's fine. That's fine. Absolutely fine. I just need to know who the fuck you're talking about.
Okay.
Oh, because you want to see what we already know. Kind of.
No, not even. You just show me a picture. What do you know about that guy?
So if we asked you, if we put a picture before you and said, was this person involved in the planning and and such, the planning and manufacture of the Molotov cocktails on?
You mean the decoys?
Yes, whatever you want to call them.
Well, they were ineffective, so calling them Molotov cocktails kind of.
It's a device that has been deemed by experts within the government to have been functional in nature. So they have already been.
That's not something I intended to do.
So I'm just saying, it's like putting if you didn't know how to put a firearm together and you just happen to make a workable firearm, it's a workable firearm, right? So
fuck me.
I mean,
oh, fuck me. Oh, fuck me.
So that's why I'm.
Oh my god.
Right. So that's why I was trying to talk about
vomit, dude. Oh my god.
If you need to.
Oh my god, no. For the love of God, no. Fuck. They just had a rag. That was it. And it was a thin rag meant to get smell out. If anyone attempted to light that shit, it would have blown up immediately. The intent was to not get it near anything and just get my reputation up and get that shit the fuck away from people who might actually throw them.
That might have been what you were told, but that's not the information that we have.
Okay.
And what we're saying here is, we like Rick said, we don't want you to bear the entire responsibility of this. I mean,
so as we said before too, we not just your phones, which but other electronic devices we've already searched and found things that suggest that you alone were not the person that was engaged in this activity.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned if we told you something about somebody, you could kind of fill us in on what they knew or whatever.
Yeah, whatever keeps me out of jail.
Did you hear about the
helping?
Did you hear about the guy that hit the police officer with the bat, the baseball bat?
Kirby,
yeah.
Yeah, I heard about him. He turned out to be some important politician's son or some shit.
Wow.
So him,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
He had previously participated in the use of a Molotov as well in another location. So did you know Kirby?
I didn't know him well.
But you knew him.
I met him a couple times. We sparred a couple times actually.
At a like
boxing.
At not a protest, but at some
wrestling. But yeah.
Okay.
So like a Cal Anderson or Okay. And so what was your activity with Kirby that day, Labor Day?
I think that was the day I met him. I think that we had a wrestling match and like little sparring session in Cal Anderson Park that day.
After the protest?
Mhm.
Okay.
Um,
So he was at Cal Anderson after the protest.
Yeah.
Did he have anybody he hung out with?
Not that I know of directly. Like I don't.
You mentioned, was it Mario?
Mario Delano Reitz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was he hanging out with him or?
I don't know. That day he definitely didn't want to hang out with me.
Mario didn't?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Like he kind of had to stick up his ass about me for a while after that.
Okay.
Understandably so. Everyone else did.
Because of the 12 pound.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And I'm kind of recognizable, so.
Yeah. What about any one of his friends? He
had a lot.
Okay.
Kirby?
No.
Oh.
Mario.
Okay.
So Kirby that night, was he with anybody? Because again, we've reviewed lots of videos. Was he?
I know.
Do you remember who he was with? I'll even make it easier for you. I'll even give you a little. Was he with a female that day?
I think there was a female near the sparring match. Yeah.
You know about her?
I don't remember a lot about her. Why? What's up with her? What? Don't tell me anything that's
right. I see them
compromise.
Right.
Whatever.
I see them marching. Right. So, were they at Cal Anderson later? Did you chat with them? Did you? I mean, you were sparring and stuff like that.
Kirby was kind of quiet. I think a couple days later is when the whole bat incident happened,
Mm-hmm.
and that was kind of unexpected. Like, I didn't really think like he had that in him. Like,
Okay.
the way he wrestled, I just kind of thought that he might have lacked aggression, but apparently fucking not.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there was a guy who went by the street name of Ash
Mm-hmm.
that knew him.
Kirby.
But he was just some heroin addict.
Ash.
Mm.
Did you know Ash?
I did, yeah.
Did he have a reputation that was different from what?
He just had a reputation for being full of shit.
Was he you mentioned there was a drug guy at your house. Was he the drug guy at your house?
No. He did live there briefly, but that was before I moved in.
Wow.
It was an ex of one of my friends who was the original leaseholder of the house.
Okay.
Who was moving and wanted to pass the house off to somebody who could use it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
Okay. So she leaves. She's the
that
original.
was her ex.
I got you.
She found out about the addiction.
That he had.
Yeah,
I got
and she was like, "Fuck that."
Yeah.
And then she told, she told me, and I told everybody I knew,
Right.
just because it was like, "Hey, watch your valuables around this guy."
Yeah. I saw there was somebody prior to you on a lease. Jordan. I
Yeah,
think.
that's her.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'd also like very much like if I'm going to be used, like the people that I'm discussing need to not know I discussed them.
Can you believe this guy? Not only is he delusional to the point where he believes that the detectives are seriously considering making him an undercover threat diffuser, but he's also explaining the idea of being undercover to detectives. He's assuming that a job called threat diffuser exists, that the detectives know about it, that they are considering offering him the position, but that they don't even know the basics of how such a position works. It's like going into Google, applying for a software engineer position, and then telling the job interviewers, yeah, by the way, if you hire me, I'm going to need a computer.
So it was,
You know what I mean?
yeah, no, I know what you mean. And
Is
you're,
that, then if, like, right now I kind of look like a snitch, but I didn't dime anybody out. You know what I mean?
we're just
but-
talking about who you guys.
No, I mean from inauguration day.
Right, inauguration day
And
was.
so they were kind of thinking that.
Yeah, I kind of,
Didn't they have questions?
I kind of like
about
already have a reputation as a snitch because of that whole like talking to the police at all business, and like if I'm to be used like in a wire situation or something like that.
And we're not talking about that here. We're talking about the basic information.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk about the future because
Yeah.
that's all I'm worried about right now.
Well, I'm surprised. Like, did
didn't-
Kirby have a reputation after he got arrested? Then
He got arrested and then everybody all of a sudden found out he was some politician's kid, and that's the last I heard of him.
so that was received negatively. You think, or
Well, it was received negatively by me. Like,
yeah.
that's too high on everyone's radar of everybody like you guys, and I just didn't want any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So you mentioned Ash and Kirby. Was there anybody else that you didn't know the female very well?
had you protested with Ash before?
Hmm?
Okay, so you knew. I guess since you met him since he was Jordan's ex, that you knew him, and then you guys were protesting together, I guess, or you did some protests together.
Yeah, I knew him before I knew her.
Oh, okay.
Did Ash introduce you to Kirby then, or how did you meet Kirby again?
I just met him at Cal Anderson Park when like a bunch of protesters were just kind of chilling there,
Just hanging out.
and like
He just was there too.
yeah, I just kind of met him in passing.
Okay.
Um,
And then I found out he was like fucking, yeah.
the politician's kid thing.
Yeah.
No, the bat thing.
Oh, the bad
The
thing.
bad thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like that enough is enough for me to like, dude, no, like don't even come near me. Like, I don't want any of that.
Do you think that, kind of going back to the bottles with the rags, do you think somebody did something to the rags, maybe that was helping you, or
No,
whoever put the rags in there, maybe the way they tied the knots, or something like that would have changed it from what you'd envisioned?
no, I don't think so. Like you can hook me up to a polygraph. I never meant for any of those to do any damage. Like, I built them knowing that they wouldn't. Like, what you're telling me is that I fucked that task up and probably ruined my life in the process.
That's not.
And that's so.
Again, that's so many things for so many other people to decide. We're just telling you that was. Remember, I told you that was the charge, and the charge has to be substantiated by that one thing. So it doesn't mean that's the ultimate decision of a judge or anybody else or a prosecutor. That just means it is what it is, right? So.
But if I want to not go to prison forever, like, I'll do whatever it takes.
Well, you're
I
talking
need to-
about like future stuff, but the best way to set yourself up would be for future stuff would be, if we could have some clarity on what happened in the past. And so maybe,
Ask away.
maybe from the way you saw things, you had this idea of just doing this all on your own, but maybe if you kind of thought back kind of the interactions you had with different people leading up to it, do you think it's possible like somebody could have influenced you somehow, and then now thinking back about it, like, you know, maybe that person did influence me, you know?
Right, or that when the devices were constructed, it was your thought or your belief that they weren't functional, but that when somebody had constructed them, they were indeed functional, and that you, again, were just somebody who wasn't aware that what you were carrying was what it was.
I thought that you needed to like kind of cork it so that the fumes don't light immediately. But if you construct proper ones, then one, that's terrorism.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
don't do that. Like,
So
and
there,
two, like, I was trying to like draw people out that were rowdy towards me so that I could then identify them and get the rest of the crowd to remove them before protests start.
which is very similar to what you told the Seattle Police Department on the day of your arrest at Starbucks.
Yeah, it was a continued strategy until it became clear that the law doesn't care about that strategy and I should stand the fuck down. And I did so.
So what more could you tell us about Kirby or Ash?
Ash was constantly lying about shit. He claimed he was part of some organization and had like hacker capabilities, and people that work for like Microsoft and shit, like actual tech guys, like they're like, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. So like shortly after that, we found out about his fucking drug problem and just kind of, he fucked off and went to go live with his sister or something.
Oh, okay.
Did he, and is it your assertion either way that he had nothing to do with the Molotov cocktails on Labor Day?
I believe so, yeah. He may have like fucking like he may have like maybe maneuvered in the crowd to like give me space or something. Like, I don't know, maybe, but not with my knowledge, no.
Did you
Or
talk to him about your plans?
I may have. I talked about a few people with the plan, but not the actual plan. Like I talked to people like, you know, talking myself up, like, you know, hey, look at these things that I'm bringing to the party. Look at how badass I am.
Like days before or weeks before or
Days, probably. But
And so when you say, so Ash might have been one of those people that you talked about it with?
yeah,
The guy that gave you a ride?
yeah.
Okay.
But that was just me saying that, and a lot of people say a lot of things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people. There's so many people that, like, when they see shit happening in front of them that's all intense, then they just like get all fired up, I guess. I don't know how to just, and like they'll just like promise 8 million things and come through with none of it.
Okay.
And like I assume that from the reactions I got from other folks that that's probably what.
So they were surprised to actually see him.
Oh, yeah. Like a few people got hostile.
Okay.
Like immediately.
And that's because they'd kind of been talking about it before.
No. They just smelled it and they're like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
But
What about the bottles filled with gas that were stored in the garbage can near the building that day.
Huh?
Did you have any knowledge about any of that part of it?
Mm-mm. No. The 12 I had in that little box was my whole thing.
Okay.
And so you didn't know about any other plan to?
No, I did see a Molotov get thrown, but that wasn't one of mine.
Like that was after everybody left?
No, that was when we were on our way. Like the spog was all right, so the spog's here, right?
Yep.
And they quick almost immediately started chasing the protesters away.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they were I'm sorry, what was the question? I'm sorry.
The little containers bottles filled with gas at a garbage can. Got my spog. And you were saying
I don't know. Yeah, when we were getting chased off back up the road,
mm-hmm.
I saw a Molotov get thrown then. And I'm like, well, that wasn't one of mine, but people are going to assume that's me.
Yeah.
You know, but even then, like, I didn't want to fucking, the idea to lie and say, like, yeah, that was me. Like, it occurred just to, like, further the whole thing, but one, I didn't think it was needed. And two, I might be picking a fight with a guy who actually threw it, and that's just dangerous. And then three, like I had taken credit for a bunch of stuff that I didn't do just to try to increase my rep, but I'm not a very good liar, so I think people like started getting turned off by me because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, maybe give that a rest. But I just noticed the one
that was thrown.
Yeah, that day I think there was only one thrown.
Okay. But that one sounded like it was.
It was a surprise to me. Like, that wasn't my doing.
Yep.
And then I guess, take us back to like when you made the Molotovs. You said you made them in your tent then. The day before.
I think the morning of. But
that morning. And then how did you get from there to the protest?
I think I just walked, didn't I?
And then what about?
Yeah.
Where did you get the gas?
I got it from a jerry can.
You just had one sitting outside your tent?
No, I kind of picked one up from the protests. There was one lying about, and I figured it was evidence against someone, so, like, scoop that up and move along. But
and then the rags that were used, the bandanas.
Mm-hmm.
You just had those lying about in your tent, or?
I bought them for COVID, but then.
Where did you end up buying them from?
I don't remember.
Was it a mini mart, gas station?
Was it around Cal Anderson?
Dollar store?
I honestly don't remember.
Maybe out of Seattle somewhere.
Like, they were COVID masks. I really didn't think much of them.
Yeah. Well, it turned out they're kind of a unique one, not sold many places. That's kind of why we're curious. Where you got them from.
Yeah, they've got that kind of the reversible pattern.
No idea.
Sure somebody else just didn't give you those?
Could be.
More likely than not, I would imagine.
Hmm.
Well, as they're pretty rare.
Okay.
So,
I never intended to make anything that was going to classify as a destructive device. I tried specifically to avoid that. I tried very specifically to avoid that so that I wouldn't be here.
Well,
Who else you got?
well, that's kind of, I'm just
I mean, we've got some other people.
All right. Well,
It's just, it's just the stories. I think you're telling a little bit of the truth.
Yeah.
And I think that you're maybe skipping over some parts. And so, we've obviously got information that's filling in the gaps. And other people that were participants.
part of the stuff we're trying to find about, what's your...
Obviously you're the more forward person because you're in the video with the 12-pack, that was pasted all over the internet.
Kind of adds to the veracity of your statements when we're looking at things that you say. There are some things we already know, so that when there are some things that you answer and we go, okay, that checks out. But in other things where you say something, we go, no, that doesn't even check out.
Yeah,
that doesn't check out, not even a little bit. So that
all right, well,
appears to us like, well, he's lying.
Keep in mind, this is a very fucking scary situation for me. And let's just, I don't want anything bad to happen to people who don't deserve it or haven't done anything directly to harm anyone.
This guy is still withholding information, and he wants to be a trusted undercover agent? This is the worst job interview I have ever witnessed.
And never will. I don't want any of those people to be fucked with. And if there are plenty of individuals in the protest community where if you pointed them out and you said, do you know about this dude or any of the things that he did? I can probably fill in gaps that you're missing in other investigations as well. Let's iron out the flat edges, because I don't want to look like I'm not cooperating. I don't want to be uncooperative, and I don't want violent threats walking around either.
Right. And and what you're talking about is kind of two separate things. Like when we were talking about other things that happened at the protest or other incidents that happened, that's one thing, and that has value. Your knowledge on that has value, but that's over here. That's not even a part of this. Yeah. And we're focused on this and
I'm entirely focused on
and so no matter
not wearing these for the rest of my life.
Right. I can understand that.
I'm so in danger of having my entire life just taken from me right now.
Right. And look, if we talked about nothing, it wouldn't change what we already know, right?
Right.
If we had no communications here, it wouldn't change what we already know. We obviously have enough to have a judge sign off that we have probable cause based on the amount of evidence that we have. So that's not what's in. It's not like we're starting out with a blank piece of paper like this, Mr. Moore, and we have no information and we're just asking you to fill it in. We're not asking you to fill in all this information. We're saying we have a piece of paper that actually has a fair amount of writing on it that we already know, and one of the things that we look for is the person being forthright? Is the person being complete in their information? Is the person cooperating, or are they not cooperating? I understand what you're saying, but I go back to my example of even if somebody's life has turned a different direction, or they've gone a different way, or I think there's still consequences for something they've done, and as I said before, we are quite confident, as Steve has said, we are quite confident that you didn't do this alone. And we have pretty good ideas, pretty good evidence on all this stuff. And it's trying to figure out if we're going to get to that spot so that, we can say, yep, we talked to Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, what he said, it actually, is lockstep in what we already knew.
So we think he's telling us.
So we think he's telling us the truth.
Being upfront with us.
So that, when he says something in the future to a judge or a prosecutor or whatever, they go, well, he has been truthful in the past. So, at least we kind of hang our hat on that.
Well, and the other thing too is, we're looking at a conspiracy here. So, the way that works is, let's say, I know you, but I don't know Rick, and Rick knows you, right? And I don't have to know everything that Rick did. Like, let's say that Rick acquired the gasoline or acquired the handkerchiefs or, gave you a ride somehow. I don't have to know that, but it's we're all share in, it's just as if Rick, even though he didn't do anything directly, he might as well have just been there with the 12-pack like you were that day. You see what I'm saying? And so, like, I understand where you're coming from. You don't want to get somebody else in trouble, but they might already be in trouble. And that's where I was kind of trying to explain that before is, some people are kind of in trouble already, and you're not really hurting them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from on there. Look, I'm sorry that I'm very panicked and doing weird shit right now, but God damn. So you're trying to say that there was other people involved in the planning process of this, but there really wasn't. I got a ride to the protest, and I didn't want my ride to be liable because, frankly, that same ride talked to me later about suicidal ideation and my struggles with that I talked about in the past, and how close this action was to it. And I think he was just more scared for me. And you're doing what? And that's why I was trying to not involve him.
Yeah. And that was the day before.
Possibly, but
Okay.
I don't want to.
So he was just trying to help you out, just to kind of keep you from hurting yourself.
Yeah, and hurting anyone else was also implied. He was kind of what are you doing? Mm-hmm. And at first he was oh yeah, cool. But I think that once it was happening, he was oh shit. Dude, you could die. Don't do that. But
and so did he already have the bottles then, or the fuel, or the handkerchief?
I'm going to wait to talk to a lawyer for that question.
Okay.
I'm not done talking.
Well, I'm afraid, we had this conversation before, and unfortunately,
All right, well, let's put the cork back in that bottle real quick. Like, I'm not trying to be dishonest or interrupt the investigation. I'm just trying to be a good citizen, get the lowest sentence I possibly fucking can,
well,
carry it out, and then
consider this. Since you've mentioned the attorney, that's still on the table. We're willing to talk to you with an attorney too, because we're just trying to find out what's going on. And I don't think justice is going to be served with you taking responsibility for some things that you didn't do. So why don't we just...
What do you think I didn't do?
What do we think you didn't do? Look, I don't think that. I think that probably you maybe you had this idea on your own, but maybe you didn't. Maybe people had already talked about it or given you an idea. Perhaps somebody helped purchase
If it wasn't
the items for you. There's other things. So Steve was talking about before. Maybe that let's say you take everything and I bring you a few things, he brings you a few things, but you're the ultimate person that builds it and then takes it and carries it and all that stuff. We still have some responsibility for that and some culpability for that because we provided you with those things. It is our belief, and again, based on more than just conjecture, as I told you before, and as Steve has told you, that there was other people involved in this, that you were not the sole person that came up with a plan, that collected all the materials, that put it all together, that walked it down the street.
But like I said, now that you've invoked, we're really not going to be able to question you anymore about it. It's just, going back to the paper.
Yeah.
I said let's put a cork in that bottle. I'm not invoking anything right now.
Okay.
I don't want to be anything less than a star citizen. My life plan is very simple. I'm a crippled man, both physically and mentally, and I simply want to get married.
Mm-hmm.
To the best woman in the world. And I want to raise children with her someday. And I need to make sure that, like...
Did you want to make a call or anything? See, or
What's that?
want anything with this?
Yeah, I can call. I can make a quick call to see if it's okay for you to keep talking. If that's okay.
Based on how you phrased it,
Yeah.
what we can check on that.
Okay.
But if that's not the case, then today we'll just
Yeah.
move forward with what
through a lot today. I mean, it's not like we can't meet with you again.
Yeah.
So.
God, I'm gonna get processed into somewhere, and
Yeah, so that's why we were trying to
damn it,
talk about that right up front, right at the beginning.
I think it might be.
When I told you, remember, if you don't have something you don't want to talk about, you can just say, I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
I don't think I've ever seen such an interaction in an interrogation room. A suspect is trying to talk the detectives into talking, while the detectives try to talk the suspect into shutting up and getting a lawyer. You know this is bad news for the suspect. The detectives already have everything they need. Justin's been sucked dry of information already, and it's time to go to jail. Wait till you hear what Justin tries to do next. He wants them to be his Google assistant.
But the fact that it's
right.
kind of ambiguous, I understand that
Then-
you kind of
I would like to replace the statement of I would like to wait, talk to a lawyer about that, which is how I phrased it, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't imply that like anything has to like end right now.
Well, from your perspective, it doesn't. I know you want to get this off your chest, but unfortunately, from our perspective, we always make sure that we do things the right way.
And that we're respecting your constitutional rights.
And so you have a right to, even though you should have a right to just kind of reverse it like you're trying to do now, you really need some time since you kind of did it, and I think you're going to need some time to process this, if that makes sense. I mean, I think for your own health. And
Yeah,
you're not missing out on anything.
Thanks.
Because
thanks,
you know what,
yeah.
we will be more than happy. We'll be I'll be right there with you and your attorney. And
do you know how much bail is typically set for these charges?
Federal system doesn't have any bail.
No.
So if they just let you, if the judge says you can be on release and you're gonna have to follow these rules, they just let you out.
Yep.
Okay.
They're gonna look at a bunch of factors. You have a steady place you can stay.
Right.
You have ties to the community, those types of things. They're going to look at a myriad of things about you. Right. So it's good to be very forthright with that information. And then they make their assessments based on that. So
I just, if I'm released, the first thing I'm going to do is propose and hopefully get married as fast as possible. Okay. And maybe, just maybe, if I'm lucky enough, this woman will stand by me. Yeah. But I don't think she will.
Yep. I'll go grab Lee.
Okay.
That's great.
Aside from everything else, I hope that things move positively between you and your girlfriend. I hope that your life moves in a positive direction. I know this was not how you saw your day. This was not how you probably saw, this time of the year. This is probably not how you saw a lot of things happening. But my best suggestion to you, especially when you go in today, there's a process to this whole thing. That when you go before the marshals, if they ask you questions, or the judge if they ask you questions, there was and I don't know if it was whether it was information you provided or the trooper got from some of your information maybe that you had, but there was your address did not match, like your physical residential where you're residing address did not match what was put in your DUI report, so did you provide your actual address to the trooper?
I knew that I was getting an apartment soon.
Oh.
So I just kind of
gave him a different address.
What address did I give him?
It was an address that ends up being a strip mall, essentially.
What?
Yeah. So.
What address did I give him?
I'd have to look it back up again. But it was not an address that came back to like a real apartment building or anything else. So
it's probably just an error, but like.
So the only reason I was bringing this up to you, right? And it could have been because you were intoxicated. I don't know. I don't know. The only thing I was trying to say with that is that if it had been on, and that's what I was trying to say, I don't know how it happened. I don't know, right? My only point to that was if that was something in which you were trying to not quite honestly provide the trooper with your correct residential information, you don't want to do that when you're providing information to the courts, right? Because that's one of the things they're looking at, the veracity of you having.
If I was trying to give an address that wasn't my girlfriend's house, it's because I didn't want her to get the DUI mail.
Okay.
And had to explain myself, but I wound up getting arrested, and she was my first phone call.
Yeah.
And
And I can understand your motivation, right? But all I'm trying to say is, when you go through this process that's going to happen after this, that we have to make sure that we have everything that's up to date as far as contact information and everything like that, so that if anybody tries to contact you, whether it was a court-appointed defense attorney or a clerk of the court or something else, they need to have something that's actually
true.
A valid, good point of contact for you. And even if it was something where you said, well, I'm not sure I'm going to be, but here's an address of somebody who is also very reliable, who I communicate with, who can forward mail to me, who are, all those
I can
types of
clear up any address mishaps.
Right. So, and I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you don't want to do that when you go to the you want to make sure everything you can provide them with everything you can that is honest and reliable and things like that. It's just just to make sure it's a piece of advice, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
If you had to guess, what
on today or just period?
If you had to guess on my future.
You know what? It really kind of depends on how everything goes forward. Your prior history is just as far as criminal history is I'm just asking, just your DUI, right?
DUI,
and the burglary charge that's
charge.
still outstanding. That has not been resolved in any way.
Yeah, I just got 100% disability, so now I can pay lawyer fees every month.
Okay.
So I assumed that if a court date was like set, that my lawyer would have called me.
Right. So we're seeing all sorts of different things, whether it's as far as either sentencing or what they're doing. I really couldn't tell you, because it really just depends. I mean, it changes. We've had changes in the U.S. Attorney's Office. We've had changes in the, who's the Attorney General of the United States. All these things make differences.
I understand you're not trying to panic me right now.
No, and I'm also just trying to tell you absolutely what I think is accurate, is that there's so many things that play into that. It's difficult to have a crystal ball. What I can tell you is my experience has been, and you can talk about this with your attorney, is that when you become more forthright about certain things, that it has positive effects on decisions that are made. And when they're looking to say, what should the consequence of these actions be? So that's just my suggestion. Are you ready?
Wrap it up.
Okay, awesome. If you can
All right.
come on in.
Tighten that back up.
So just wanted to, while I got you gentlemen here, I apologize for the incident at the VA. It's very panicking.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. We'll let the team know.
Yeah, we'll let them know.
Yeah.
Thanks. I didn't hurt anyone, right?
I haven't had the chance to talk to any of those folks, so I don't know.
Well, if anybody got scraped up or anything like that, please tell them that they're more than welcome to visit me for a face-to-face apology. I definitely didn't want any of that.
Okay.
It was just very panicking, and I didn't know
I'll
what was. Yeah.
Yeah, we can pass that on.
Yeah, that's it. Stand up there, man. Excuse me. I'm gonna take this arm, hand out, give me a little room there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna tighten this back up. For the ride. Respect.
God, putting my wrist in that thing feels like I'm putting my head in the guillotine.
All right. You want another mask for him?
Rick asked you, I will go get one. Rick asked you to stand by just for a minute.
Stand by.
Get a mask for him, yep.
So, if I could ask a Google search or something on like what's the best and worst case scenario for possession of a destructive device?
Yeah, I'm not really sure, man. I'm just here to transport you, so, I'm not.
Well, I mean, Google would know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Google would know. It would also tell you that this guy's job isn't to perform Google searches for criminals. Not that you'd even need a Google search to know this, seeing as how the detective just explained his job was to transport you, but I love this interaction anyway. Such a Redditor versus real-world experience. The officer's, yeah, is one of the most brutal uses of a one-word answer to a question. He just drops the, yeah, and immediately ends the conversation, letting silence emphasize the denial of Justin's request.
Here to transport you, so, I'm not.
Well, I mean, Google would know.
Yeah. You can have a seat for a minute, too. While we wait.
Fine. May I stand?
Yeah, that's fine.
I know what that answer means. That answer means I'm probably never seeing the light of day.
My answer is I don't actually know. So I would have to look it up, too.
Right, but the fact that the internet's in your pocket and you're not is kind of telling me that you just don't want to freak me out.
Well, it's kind of like one of these things. When you invoke an attorney, we can't really talk to you about the case. I'm just here to transport you. They're the investigators, so.
Well, that's not
everything about
that's not the
Well, there are certain
case.
rules.
That's public knowledge.
Yeah, but it's a kind of a rule we have to go through. We have to abide by. It's nothing personal.
I think it's a new mask.
Thank you.
1 minute, Rick, we'll be right back in.
You bet. I'll help you out. It's kind of a pain.
Thanks.
Upside down.
Yeah. They can't shut the recording here.
Yep.
I do get a phone call at some point, right?
Yeah. You'll get that right around after dinner. That's it. Go.
Justin Moore was sentenced to 40 months in prison for his role in the plot to burn down the Seattle Police Officers Guild.